Welcome to the Epic Company Culture Podcast, where your host, Josh Sweeney, will give you, the business leaders, HR professionals, and company culture aficionados, the knowledge you need to take your company culture to the next level.
Hello, my name is Josh Sweeney, and welcome to the Epic Company Culture Podcast. Before I get started, I would like to thank Prototype Prime for this amazing podcast space. Today's episode is part of the Culture Champions series, and we're joined here by Pramod Sajja of Paramount Software Solutions. Thank you for having us, or thank you for being here. Excuse me.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks. Nice to be here.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
So we are an IT solution company, Paramount Software Solutions. We are based here in Atlanta for the last 20 years. Our core purpose of the business is to provide simple, collaborative, and agile solutions in IT staffing and consulting for different clients all across the country. And we've been doing it for the last 20 years.
Fantastic. That's a long time running.
Yeah. 20. We just completed our 20-year celebrations also last December.
Is this your headquarters here in Atlanta?
Yeah, in Alpharetta, Georgia. We're headquartered here.
Okay. And do you have any other locations?
We have back in India. One of our offshore locations is back in India in Bangalore.
Awesome. And how many people do you have in total?
Total, we have a team of 300 employees spread all across both in U.S., about 250, and we have about 100 back offshore, back in India.
Yeah, so what I'm excited about on this interview is we have a lot of people that have, multiple U.S. locations, but not only is it international, but it's, completely different cultures, both from a country perspective, and then you have the business here, the office there. So I'd love to hear your perspective on, how you make that work. What do you see as like the biggest difference in company culture in India versus here?
Oh, there's a big difference because when I came to this country 20 years back, it was kind of culture shock, like everyone goes through it. Even though I didn't have much work experience back in India because I started the company when I was 26. So right when I landed, I thought, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm built to do. So that's how it started. So not having that exposure to culture, both back in India and also here, it was a bit of a challenge. But then again, see, as long as you have the passion, to build a company, I guess, nothing else matters. So from there it started. So I built it up for about 10 years on my own. And then that's when, I felt like, for us to grow as a company, to grow bigger than, where I was 20 years back, 10 years back, I have to start to implement, different cultures, which is going to work for a growing company. So that's when I thought, we will instill a culture into the organization for us to break the barriers and then grow.
So what do you see as the biggest difference in culture between your two offices? Are there just certain parts of the ethos and how people work that are fundamentally different?
Definitely. Fundamentally, a lot of differences, I would say, because, obviously, U.S., it's a different culture altogether here. It's a developed country, whereas in India, it's a developing country. So you'll definitely see cultural differences, management style differences, and all that. But in the last 20 years, companies have flourished. The borders have opened up in India too, so which means a lot of multinational companies started doing business going there. So it changed, compared to 20 years back to what it is right now, it's completely different. So they've used to the concept of getting immersed with the culture in the developed countries. So not much, but still there would be some differences, given the time difference, given the cultural differences, there would be. But for us as a company, whatever we try to implement here, whatever we want to follow here, we try to cascade the same thing over there, and we've been quite successful doing that.
Got it. So I know it's probably hard to talk in generalities, and you don't want to, generalize on any of these things. But from a management perspective, you mentioned that management styles are different. What do you see? What are some of those examples of management styles being different? I know, I'm sure people manage them different ways, just in different companies in the U.S. and different ways based on who's managing in India. But what are some other differences and examples you have?
So the one thing what we, as a company, what I felt was important was the whole corporate America or everywhere in the world, all the management styles are top down.
Okay.
So we felt like, that's kind of not working. See, for a small business to grow, it has to have a different model. And that's when we started researching. We found something called holacracy. Holacracy in layman terms, it's nothing but flat management. A lot of companies have done this. Is not a new concept. It has been there for years, but not many people have been successful because the way the roles have been defined in flat management was not very quite clear. So holacracy is, you can probably call it as an improvement over a flat management where basically to start with, the top down is gone. So everyone is on a flat line, wherein the roles are defined more clearly, and that everybody has an opportunity to interact in an open door policy. So there is no top down wherein your roles, responsibilities are limited to certain things, and that you only have access to this person. You have to so all that is kind of brought down to the ground, wherein the CEO and this works very well for small businesses. So it worked wonders for us. We've been implementing it for the last 5 to 8 years now, and we've seen so much of success with that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's almost like you don't even need to say you have an open door policy. The design just gets rid of the term altogether, right?
Yeah.
That's great. So what are some of the challenges you had in doing a holacracy?
Challenges wise, I really can't think. It's just that getting people to get used to this was a bit of a challenge. I mean, I wouldn't really put it as a challenge per se, but for them to understand. But when they start to see the advantages, benefits of this culture, of this management style, they fall into it. Because number one, they have that open door policy. Number two, there's no micromanaging boss. There's no top-down hierarchy. And it opens up doors for personal growth also. It provides a platform, to expand your horizons. So when you look at it, and when they start to see that happening in a company, I mean, nobody's going to say no to that. Even people who have been used to, I've had some folks in a company who are used 20 years of top-down management, and when they see this is more of a breath of fresh air. They really like it. They really like what's happening, and even though it took some time for them to get used to it, the process is very fast. They get onto it pretty fast.
Got it. Well, you're definitely a first to talk about the concept. I mean, I've heard about, flattening the management structure. Google's talked about it, and some other big brands have really tried to put less layers in. And we've also talked about it a lot on the show around the challenge of communication. And top-down communication makes it hard, but with a flat structure or flatter structure, it seems like you're really putting it on the team to say, what do you need to communicate? Go make it happen. You don't have to worry about it coming from the top.
Exactly. It doesn't, because it's a team effort, and holacracy is something which doesn't work all by itself, because it's like a manual. You start to implement it. You put it into practice. So there are a lot of other tools that go hand in hand with it. So one of the things that we started implementing since last 1 year is EOS traction.
Yeah.
I'm
a big fan.
Okay, good. So we felt like, we have to start to reinvent, because after 15 years, we felt like, we kind of hit the ceiling. No matter what we are doing, no matter how we're growing, but still, we felt like, we hit that ceiling. We are being pushed to the wall, we hit the ceiling. So we felt like, okay, something needs to change. So that's where we've done some research. We found out this great program in US. So we signed up with a company in New York, and we've been implementing it for the last good 3 quarters. And we've seen good changes. Obviously, our biggest challenge was, how to break the ceiling. So that's where the management team, because of the tools that this particular program has provided, wherein we went through the process where we identified our core values, our 1-year targets, 3-year targets, marketing plan. And this is something which we have done as a team, not me as the owner of the company saying, okay, this is where we want to be, this needs to be our marketing strategy. No, we went through an exercise, all-day exercise, where we looked into our insight as to what we've been doing, what can we brand ourselves as our core values are, what we think or what our clients thinks are we good at. So from there we derived our core values, and then we started implementing those. And one of the 2 important key features of this program is accountability and level 10 meetings. So which happens every Friday, and this is a platform where each one of the management team comes together. They talk about their rocks. They talk about what we need to do as a company, what everybody is doing, and then the biggest thing what we've seen in those is at this point in time, in this level 10 meeting, since last 3 quarters we're doing, we could see like what everyone else is doing. And then we started to see the flow of ideas coming in, that, oh, this is what we can do, or someone from sales giving ideas to marketing, someone from marketing giving ideas to HR. So the whole culture, it's become more transparent and more friendly. So it's not like siloed in, like, oh, HR works siloed in, oh, HR is something that, you cannot touch, you need to stay away. It's not like that. So we all work together as a team. We come in, whatever challenges we're facing, we put it out front in terms of rocks. We design them as company rocks, individual rocks, and then we try to crush them over a period of 3 months.
Got it. So one thing, I guess, for our listeners, just to recap, Traction EOS is the entrepreneur operating system, has all of these different concepts like rocks and level 10 meetings, and it's really a structure to run the business on. I'd like to know, rocks come about a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. From a top-down management, the company, the management may set the higher tier rocks, and then there's roll-up rocks from the individuals. Mm-hmm. How do you feel that that's a little bit different in a holacracy? I mean, there's other companies that have individuals set their rocks and they want buy-in, but what do you think? Do you think there's anything fundamentally different about using Traction in a holacracy?
So with Traction, it is different because the company rocks, or even for that matter, the individual rocks, are not coming from anyone. It means like the management is not deciding what individual rocks are going to be. So we as a team work together. As I said, when we sit down to set those rocks, it's a one-day program. So we set the whole day, no calls, nothing. So we go through each one of their rocks. We come up with about 10, like each one would come up with 10. And then we'll start to dig into, is this something that can be achieved? What do you think about it? It goes around the team, and the team will chime in and say, no, I think it's, for your personality, for the challenges that we faced the last quarter, this might be a little too tough, so try to mellow it down. Or no, you are trying to, put yourself as an underachiever, go ahead. So all kinds of suggestions roll in, and when somebody says that, for example, I'll give you a very simple example. I was spending too much time within the business. So until one of my marketing managers, she told me that, Pramod, you need to be out. You need to be more of a spokesperson for the company. You've done enough. Like, now we are here, we can take care of it. You need to be more of a spokesperson, be the face of the company, go out, spread the word. Until she told me, it never hit me.
Yeah.
Because, I was only thinking, no, I need to spend like 60 hours a week, running this, running that, getting myself immersed in all this. So, those are the kind of, good suggestions that, kind of a perspective which comes in, and which, anybody can take it in a positive way. I took it in a positive way. I started to make changes since last year. I'm seeing a big change in that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to thank her, because now we have you here to share all this awesome
absolutely.
information.
Yeah, if it's not for her, probably I wouldn't have been here.
I'm in entrepreneur organization, and I know we do a forum meeting once a month for 4 hours, and it's really that time to just work on the business. It's not out promoting, but it's really heads down, strategic items, very, great shares between the group members and things like that. So it gets you out of that 60-hour-a-week business,
absolutely,
putting out fires and
I love it too. And I love it too. Yeah,
fantastic. So I know you said you started the business really early on, so I'm not sure, how many shares you're going to have, but from a company culture perspective, was there a company that you worked for previously that had like an amazing experience and you said, yes, I want to replicate that?
Unfortunately for me, I've never worked here in US, and even back in India, I only worked for 6 months. So I really couldn't say that I work for a company where I like the culture. Though I can say one thing, because the entrepreneur, the owner of that company that I work, Ramoji Film City, he's a very well-known, well-established. So he has been my role model. Even before I joined the company, because his a rags to riches story, where he came from a poor background, he built an empire for himself. So I wouldn't probably call it from a culture perspective, because again, for me to talk about the culture, I was there for only 6 months. But as an individual, I always derived that motivation from him. I always looked at him as a role model.
So in conjunction with the holacracy you have now, what are your favorite parts of your company culture?
Yeah, so when I first started, see, as a growing company, when you start, culture is not on your mind. Is not something that anybody, who starts a company fresh thinks about. For me, it's also the same thing. For me, survival was the biggest, especially for me as an immigrant coming into this country with no exposure, no experience. So, but all I had was that passion to succeed, and I was provided a platform from my brother, and my wife was a great support since in the last 20 years. She's the one piece that has stayed, who's the constant in all the 20 years of my journey. So after we built the company, I ran it for about 8 to 10 years all by myself, taking care of everything. And that's when I thought, for me to grow, there has to be other pieces that needs to be added. So one is expand the team, rely on others to grow the company. And then that's where I started to think, the culture also matters, because how are you going to hire qualified people, for people who are going to stay. So the 10 years experience has taught me something. What I've been doing. Yeah, initially, my intention was to grow the business, but at the end of everything, whatever I did personally or professionally was to be happy, right? Like individuals, whatever you do every day, what we do for our families, what we do for our spouses or our kids, everything, the end result is to be happy. So I thought, why not that be the crux of our culture? So from that day forward, all the hires we've did, whatever I worked towards to provide that platform to be happy. So my mantra or my statement to anybody, who comes into the company, who leaves the company is, come to work happy, leave work happy. That's it. So everything revolves around that, as long as we work hard to maintain that. And again, let me tell you, it's not easy to achieve. It's not.
I'm sure not.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different ethnicities, is difficult. But if you believe in that, because, who doesn't want to be happy at the end of the day? Simple, right? Everybody wants to. So when you put it on as a core value, and as this is something that we are very serious about. So if you are one who's coming in who wants to spoil this, you're more interested in something else, this is not the right place. So everyone would sign up to that. So we all work very hard to make sure that that's the culture that we create. So it's not anything fancy. It's simple, being happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
well,
that in short
can be challenging for sure.
Yeah.
So as far as going back to a little bit about the two offices, what's one thing that's pretty much identical in both offices? Like something you've maintained as a company culture, maybe be happy might be the thing that's in two offices. And then what's something that's different in both offices?
Something which is static, which is standard in both offices. Everyone from both the offices respect me. They value me. So this is a good thing. Very tiny differences, the team members, the offshore team members are always very enthusiastic to learn more, to seek, help from the management team up here, because they always feel that, they could learn from here. So it's not one of those situations where it's not like we make it a point that, everything has to trickle down. Not that way. There are certain things that we learn from them. There are certain things that they would show the interest to learn from us. So we always create that, the two-way street approach, wherein the things that they can learn from us, we help them with that. Things that we can learn from them, we do embrace that. So, we do take up a lot of programs where we provide them with trainings. We feel that trainings from here are more effective, so we do that. And we feel that, we need to get into some kind of cultural trainings, we get involved in those things too.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun work to kind of learn and grow together.
Absolutely, it is fun work. That's the whole, while we are achieving our targets and everything, while you are having fun and being happy at it, I think, that's the best culture that anybody can create.
Yeah, so what are you most looking forward to enhancing from a company culture? Is there like a people project or a culture project that you have this year that you really want to achieve?
Not really. With whatever is going on with the traction, because we just started it about 3 quarters back, so we will be embracing it more efficiently. We'll be learning, because again, it took some time. It took almost 6 months for us to get to the nitty-gritties of it. So now we're getting a hang of it. So we want to perfect it. So we want to add more features to it. and work a little more aggressively. And then the cascading piece also, we are probably around like 70% successful in the cascading of to the other team members, the offshore team members, and the remote team members. So we'll be working more on that, maybe for the rest of the year, and then we'll see like whatever additional things that bring in on top of it if we have to add it.
Yeah, and have you happened to read Rocket Fuel yet? That's
No,
their
not
newer
yet.
book, I guess.
No, not
Yeah,
yet.
it's pretty good. Got a lot of extra information.
Sure.
On the program. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Anything else you'd like to share with us today?
I guess not. I mean, as in when we started, I mean, we're definitely starting to see a change in the perceptions. We are since after we started implementing this, we're seeing a change in people getting more involved. And again, the 200 technical employees that I mentioned, they're not in one location. They're spread all across the country. So we make sure that we do provide them. They get involved with the newsletters, and we do provide the webinars for them. Which enhances. It could be like we just had one over this weekend, which is financial planning, because not many people are in that, because the average age of our employees is like 30 plus. So which means they're not thinking about that, because until you cross that 40. But we felt like there's a need for it. So we do all kinds of programs. We do town hall meetings where we update everyone as to what's happening, get involved with the company activities. So we would want to continue providing that more aggressively for the rest of 2019. So we take requests, and we get people from the industry come in, talk about whether it could be on a technology. We do webinars, not just educating our clients, but also it's an education, upskilling, their skills in the emerging technologies. So we do, we are doing it, and we also plan to do it more aggressively for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I like the idea of the financial planning. Mm-hmm. That's one that it seems like everybody could use that, because once you get over, most of the studies say once you get over a certain revenue threshold, financial to your household, money's not as big of a factor, but it also, the planning is, right? It's not at that point, it's not what you make, it's what you spend, and,
and what you save.
There's some strategy around,
around and we had
satisfaction.
Absolutely. We had a great speaker. He touched on the finer points. It was for 45 minutes, and then that kind of it was kind of more of an eye-opening. Everybody was thinking about it, but until somebody comes in and says that, okay, this is where you're going to go wrong. These are the real life examples where somebody went through it. Somebody just close to you went through it, and then until somebody comes and points, you don't know. Yeah. And so it was good. We hope to do more of those educational kind of seminars, which is going to help both professionally and personally also.
Yeah, what other things other than kind of your typical business, like the financial planning, what other seminars or speakers have you seen good success from?
So we are doing a webinar on this 31st of this month. So we are inviting an industry expert. So it would be on blockchain. So it's one of our service offerings from Technology Point. So this is more of education. There's no selling aspect to it, and the plan is for us to invite from the academia and from the industry, where people come in, they share the experience. We pick up some use cases, we talk about it, so that way it's more of educating as to how you can use it, where you can use it, and that is it the right time to use it. And we also have an event coming up on 21st of next month. It's more of a dine-in, learn and dine in our office premises, where we are going to invite clients over and talk about, explain to them, showcase to them, show like a prototype of what this technology can do. So things like that. So so our plan is to have these kind of webinars and live events for at least, like, if not every month. Our target is to have at least once a quarter. And it could be a mix of it. It's not just targeting on blockchain. It could be on cybersecurity. So we pick those topics from the industry as to what the industry is facing. And then we try to gather that information from both the industry, get thought leadership from the industry, from the academia, get those brains together, and then just have a fireside chat.
Yeah, disseminate the information for team and customers and everybody else.
Yep.
Well, this has been super educational. I love the content that you shared today. So thank you for being on.
Sure. Thanks, Josh. It's nice to be here.
Thank you for joining us on the Epic Company Culture Podcast. This has been part of our Culture Champion series with Pramod Sajja, and we would love to have you come visit us on our YouTube channel. Follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. Leave a 5-star review, and feel free to add any comments or questions that you have in the comments box. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Epic Company Culture Podcast with Josh Sweeney. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. For additional content and transcripts, visit epicculture.co. If you have questions or topics you would like us to address or expand on, tweet us at epicculture1 or email at podcast@epicculture.co.